Alright guys, in this video we're going to take a look at graphing quadrilaterals. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be given a couple points, and then they're going to ask us for the fourth point that would make a particular quadrilateral. So a couple things you want to do. First thing you want to do is you probably want to take a look at which quadrilateral they're asking for. So in this case they're asking for a parallelogram. And then you probably also want to graph your points before we move anywhere else. So let's start here. So this is -2, 0, so that's my A point. Now I would really encourage you to write these letters down as you graph the points. -2, 2, that's going to be B. 4, -1, it's going to be C. And then we're looking for point D. Now, why don't you take a second and take a look at this and see if you can determine where you think point D would be. Now, a lot of people think that point D would be right here. And here's why. If I kind of connect these together, just like that, it looks like a quadrilateral, and it looks like a parallelogram. And it actually is a quadrilateral and a parallelogram. However, there's one thing that we're missing. Notice they say A, B, C, D. Now, you can always assume it's, if they don't tell you, it's probably the alphabetical order, or the order that they tell you the points. But in this case, it specifies A, B, C, D. So let's connect, that tells us how to connect the points. So if I connect the points A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, that is not a quadrilateral or a parallelogram. So that point D is not going to work for us. So let's take a look and see if we can't find the correct point D. So instead of going up, let's connect the points that I have so far. A, B, C looks something like that, right? Notice AB is a distance of 2, BC is kind of this distance. So if I want point D, I went up, then down. I'm probably going to need to go down from point C. So this right here is going to be point D. And one of the ways I can know for sure is start at your middle point, the point that you have the two pieces connected to. I'd go your shortest distance. So in this case, my shortest distance is going down 2 blocks to A, right? And then we're just going to kind of slide that down to C. And so once again, we also went down 2 blocks from C. So whatever we do from B, we're going to just do that from C, because B is kind of the middle point where those are connected. And then I can connect all these points together. And I get A, B, C, D, and there's my parallelogram. So what point does D need to be? The final answer here would be 4, -3. That would be my point D. Okay. Let's take a look at another parallelogram, but actually this one is a rhombus. So special parallelogram here. Let's once again start by graphing our points. So here's point A. 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5. There's B, and then C is at 7, 7. So right there. All right, so this is actually going to work the exact same way as before. I'm going to start by connecting my points together. Okay. Now I'm going to say, how did I get from, I could do B to A or B to C, either one is fine. And again, let me switch the colors here so you can kind of see this isn't the official leg, but let's take a look. So how did I get from B to C? Well, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks, and I went up 2. So I went to the right 4, up 2. Right? That's how I got there. So I'm going to do the same thing for A. I'm going to go to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2. And that puts me right here. Notice I did it from B to C, and I'm going to drag that down to A. I could have gone from B to A and slid that up to C. That works too. Okay, but if you do it correctly, it should look exactly like what you're looking for, okay? And that looks like a rhombus. I know the lines are a little wiggly because I'm not very good at drawing them straight, but that ends up looking like a rhombus. If you end up with, let me show you a shape that would not look like a rhombus. Let's clean all this up. If you end up with something like, I don't know, out here, okay? That clearly is not a rhombus, okay? So you should also just be able to identify this by eyeballing it. So what do we end up with? 4 and 2, so this would be point D here. And once again, let's make sure we get our final answer. That's at 2, 4, 5, 5, 3 would be point D. All right, now let's take a look at a non-parallelogram. Let's look at an isosceles trapezoid. So once again, I'm going to label my points. So -1, +4 puts me here. 3, 4 puts me there. A, B. Now we're looking for C. That's kind of important. And then D is at -4, -2. Now I'm going to connect these A to B and then normally B to C, but that's not there, so I'll do and then D back to A. So there's my isosceles trapezoid. There's two legs. So I think we'd be pretty safe. There's actually two different places that you could find this point C at, but we're going to pick the one that's pretty simple, straightforward. We're going to go ahead and draw this D line out this direction, right? So we know it's out this way somewhere. The question is exactly where. And once again, what I'm going to do is something very similar. I'm going to go down from A and to the left. So I went down 2, 4, 6, and to the right 3. So I'm going to do the same thing for B. I'm going to go down 6. And instead of going to the left 3, I'm going to go to the right 1, 2, 3. And that's going to put me right here. Most of the ones that you're going to have to graph are going to be parallelograms. If you're wondering where the other point might be, is actually if we make a parallel line like this. That's not exactly parallel. If we had made a parallel line like this, there's a C point down here somewhere, but that is not something that you would have to be able to find on your own, and that would be a bit trickier. Actually, it might be right there, maybe. I'd have to take a look. But that's not something that we'd expect you to find on your own. A lot of these are going to be pretty straightforward. All right, last one. Let's look at a kite, and then we've got -1, +4. That's a common one to start here. -5, +3, and then -1, +7. Actually, these are out of order. This should be point C should be the question mark, and point D is incorrect. So sometimes we even make mistakes here setting them up because we forget to put them in order. So that one's on me. Sorry, guys. So let's go ahead and put these letters on. Okay, so I've got A to B and to D. And again, this is a little bit tricky to see. So I could draw that diagonal right there. Okay, and notice it's a slope of +1. What do I know about the diagonals of a kite? I know they're perpendicular, so if I have a slope of +1, I need a slope of -1 for my other diagonal. And if I draw that, you can actually pretty much just eyeball it. That looks right there to be point C. Again, I'm not expecting you to have a lot of kites. It's mostly just parallelograms, and I think those are probably the easiest ones to do. And so that final point would be at -4, +7. All right, well, that wraps up graphing quadrilaterals on the coordinate plane. A lot of it, guys, is just doing it, like adjusting it until it looks right. That's going to get you home most of the time, but you can always do some different counting methods with side lengths and things like that. You want to go back to your properties. What do I know about parallel lines? So if I have one set of sides that's parallel and congruent, that's going to be a parallelogram. That's usually the one that I would use the most, but a lot of it, for this kite, we use perpendicular diagonals. So that wraps up our lesson on graphing quadrilaterals in the coordinate plane.